This is the all-new Honda Civic SI HFP, which stands for Honda Factory Performance. To get yourself in one of these, the price of the SI jumps from $30,872 Canadian to $36,572. So what do you get? Well, for starters, as you can see, it comes with a whole host of visual upgrades, including a striking red front lip, new side skirts that Honda says will generate more downforce, some red floor mats, a ton of HFP badges, and some 19-inch wheels. And I must say, the final product is really very good looking. In fact, I think this is what the Type R should have looked like. Striking, but not overdone. Now onto the important stuff. The engine is the same as the base SI, a 1.5-liter turbo 4 that makes 205 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque, which, by the way, gets really impressive gas mileage. I averaged 8 liters per 100 kilometers in the week that I had it. However, in the HFP package, those 19-inch wheels are wrapped in 235-width Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, which is a very grippy street tire, one that rivals the rubber they put on the Type R. And the adaptive dampers in the HFP are upgraded over the regular SI, allowing for a more aggressive sport mode setting. Now those are some features that I can get into.
Alright, the question that we're all wondering, is the Civic SI HFP any better to drive? The short answer is, well, yeah, it is. Because two things. One, we have Michelin Pilot PS4S, so that's the Pilot Sport 4S up front, actually all around this car, and we have better adaptive dampers. So when I put it in sport mode, like that, and we're on a back road like this, the front end of this car is excellent. It absolutely just turns into the corner in such a predictable fashion, right? It's almost telepathic the way that you turn this wheel and it goes in. The steering ratio is pretty quick. There's lots of nice steering weight going on here. So when I get into some twisty stuff like this, third gear, toss the car in like that, and it's just lovely. That front just goes. It just feels nice to drive, right? Sharp. Sharp is the word that I would use to describe the way that this car goes around a back road like this. Because the front end of the car is very, very well designed. Okay, we have a limited slip differential up front. That's the one big thing that's going to make people take this over the Elantra Sport. Unfortunately, that LSD up front makes for a car that you can just crank the wheel and stand on the throttle and it just whips you around a corner. It's phenomenal. I absolutely love that. It would make this car so much fun to drive on an autocross course, right? Because you can just crank the wheel, stand on the throttle, and the LSD gets the power to both wheels and it just pulls you through the corner. It's super satisfying and very fast. It's beyond impressive what this thing can do in a really tight corner for a front wheel drive car. And that's not just down to the LSD. So you can't just slap an LSD in any car and it'll do that. It's also how much engineering Honda has put into the front end of this car. The suspension system is very good. And in this HFP, in sport mode, I have better dampers that are able to get that power down. So the engine, turbocharged. We're not getting really any serious torque until you're past 3,000 RPM. That's what the boost threshold seems to be, which makes it feel quite dull when you're just driving around at low speeds, because obviously you shift up so that you can keep the revs low for fuel economy, right? But when we're out here and we keep the revs up above 4,000, or if you're on a track, the engine is quite responsive, all right? It is. It responds to the throttle inputs very well. There's a little tick of lag as you get the boost down, but then it just goes. And even though it's turbocharged, Honda has still managed to, with the whole sound environment and the way the engine revs, make you still want to run out the gears right to the red line. It's not like an old VTEC engine that's just absolutely insane and taps off the rev limiter, but it still has a quality about it that makes you want to run out the gears. That's good. I don't know if it's the sound, I don't know if it's the way that the torque band goes, but either way, it's still a really fun car to just flog on a back road like this. Now, the shifting experience of this car, first of all, I don't really like the clutch in this. It's too light. They could definitely have put a slightly more aggressive clutch that you can really feel that engagement point where you overcome the pressure plate. It's very easy to drive, I'll give you that. This is a very easy car to drive. You put it in comfort mode and this thing just dispatches the commute every single day. It's sharp, it responds to you. If you need to get through some traffic, it will get you there, and it will get you there comfortably. But otherwise shifting, the shifts are very, I can't fault them, it's very Honda-like. The shifts are very snappy. They snap into gear very positively. There's never a doubt what gear you're in, but there's almost like a hollow flex to it that I don't like. I don't know, I'm being picky. Anyway, the rest of the driving experience is good. The pedals are spaced well for heel toe, so there's enough room for my foot to get over, right? So I can actually drive this car aggressively, which is nice. And it does respond well to that type of driving, without a question. There is, however, a little bit of rev hang, especially from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. You do have to kind of wait. You really can't rip through the gears in this car. That gets frustrating really quickly, because if you try and shift too quickly, the revs haven't fallen far enough and you'll get a lurch when you release the clutch. Or you wait for the revs to fall to shift smoothly, but then you feel like you're waiting forever. Kind of takes away from it a little bit. I don't know what's going on with rev hang in some of these cars. Subarus are really bad for it too. But if we could just eliminate rev hang from the world, that would be great. Please. After getting into this and into my Miata, the revs fall almost too quickly for me to catch them. It takes me a minute to readapt. So then the HFP, yes, you are getting some more performance. You're getting a little bit of a sharper Honda Civic SI, which is nice. It's not just some fancy Tupperware on the outside. I think it looks better personally, but it's not just that. At least you're getting tires and suspension, and it makes for an SI overall that is definitely a sharper driving experience on a road like this. Now, how's the rest of the car to drive? Well, it's just a regular Civic in here, obviously. The infotainment volume slider, what is that about? I was just in a drive-thru, got myself a coffee before I started filming this, and the music was blaring, and I pulled up and I reached down to turn the volume down, and I turned the temperature down because the temperature knob is where the volume should be. And then if you want to actually turn the fan down, which was also blaring, you have to click a button for climate, go into a screen, and tap a button on the screen. Not cool. There's no knob to turn down the volume for the radio. There's a little button on my steering wheel here, which isn't in a good spot, and you can't like grab it by feel really easily. The infotainment itself looks very nice. Like visually, it's quite nice to look at. It's auto power off. What are you doing? Stop beeping at me. It looks good. The navigation looks fantastic. Once you get into a screen, like for your smartphone or for radio or whatever, it works well. It's fine. On my screen here, speaking of which, it's digital. It looks fantastic. Really bright readout for the speed, and the tack is super easy to read. When I put it in sport mode, I get these 2 red lights that light up on the dashboard, and they flash at me when I need to shift. That's really super cool. I'm really into that. We have a bunch of things to go through here. Let's take this one, for example. I have a brake-o-meter, which tells me how much brake I have, and there's a throttle on the left-hand side there. This would actually be really useful if you were driving on the track a lot, because then you could check to see how much brake pressure did you apply in that corner. Could you brake a little bit more aggressively next time you come around to that corner? That'd be great, but it doesn't save the level that you hit with the braking. Do you know what I mean? It just goes up and then goes down after you let off the pedal, which would mean that you'd have to be looking at it. And if you've ever driven on a track, you would know that you're not looking at your gauges while you are braking. You're looking to turn into the corner. There's some shift lights. That's actually really helpful, because it'll flash when you want to shift. It looks really Formula One-ish too. We have a G readout, which also doesn't, I don't think it does, that I can see. It doesn't save the amount of G that you hit in the corners. You couldn't really use it to figure out if you could get into that corner a little bit quicker the next lap around. Looks great though. Anyway, the rest of the interior looks very nice. It is visually very well designed. I find it comfortable. These seats are comfortable. I like them, and the bolsters are quite good without digging into my legs. That seems to be difficult to do nowadays. I'm looking at you, Focus RS. The center console here is nice. It's comfortable. Everything is put in a good spot for you to reach. Okay, I can reach the entire navigation system without a question. Super easy, and I've got a good space to my pedals. I'd like the steering wheel to come out at me a little bit more. I don't have what I would consider a perfect driving position, but I have a good driving position. Cup holders down here. Honda does this kind of cool thing where they to plug in your phone, you route the cable kind of up from underneath the console, so it kind of comes out here, which is cool. It keeps the whole area looking clean. That's a good design. I actually really like that. Steering wheel looks really nice, and it's very comfortable in my hands. No complaints there. I really do look forward to driving this car. It responds very well to everyday driving, and when you find a back road, tap that sport button and it sharpens right up for you, and you can have a great time. That's really the ideal version of a daily driving car. If you were going to fully track drive this car would be able to do it, okay? This is not one of those where I say, hey, you'd probably want a new alignment, or you'd want some better tires, or you'd want some coilover or something like that. No, right off the bat, this car would rip around a track and you'd be having a great time. Same with an autocross course. That front LSD, the way that the car is designed in terms of its chassis, is good. I can't fully explore the limits of the car on a back road like this, obviously, but I can tell you that as you turn into a corner, there's no detectable understeer whatsoever. Even under throttle, you stand on the throttle and it just kind of rips you around the corner. See me smiling? Yeah. Oh, it's fun. A little bit of G-force there. Nothing that you would consider to be understeer whatsoever. That front end just nabs onto the road and just pulls you right through the corner. Great car. So there you go, the Honda Civic SI HFP. I think this is a cool package. You actually get some performance improvements. It looks better on the outside. There's some cool add-ons. It's got awesome badges all over the place. It's kind of like a special edition. It's something that if you were already going to buy a Civic SI and you weren't thinking about spending the extra for a Type R, if you're just looking for an SI, something just a daily, it's not that you wouldn't be like afraid to drive in the winters, then this would be an excellent option. It's got a few little improvements that are going to make your track days and your autocross days more exciting. So there you go. My name is Thomas Holland, and you've been watching Throttle House.